Hello everyone. Today I'll be reading the Tale of Squirrel Nutkin. This is a tale about a tale that belonged to a little red squirrel named Nutkin. Squirrel Nutkin had a brother called Twinkleberry. He had a great many cousins too. They all lived in the woods at the edge of a lake. In the middle of the lake was an island covered with trees and nut bushes. Among the trees stood a hollow oak tree. It was the house of an owl called Old Brown. One autumn day, when the nuts were ripe and the leaves on the bushes were golden, Nutkin, Twinkleberry, and all the other squirrels went to the edge of the lake. They made little rafts out of twigs, and they paddled over the water to Owl Island to gather nuts. Each squirrel had a little sack and a little oar. They spread their tails for sails. They also took with them 3 fat mice as a present for Old Brown. The squirrels put the mice on his doorstep. Twinkleberry and the other little squirrels bowed and said politely, "Old Mr. Brown, may we please have permission to gather nuts on your island?" But Nutkin's manner was very rude. He bounced up and down like a little red cherry, singing, riddle me, rot, tot, tote, a little wee man in a red, red coat, a staff in his hand and a stone in his throat. If you tell me this riddle, I will give you a groat." Now Mr. Brown was not interested in a groat, which is a coin. He paid no attention to Nutkin. He shut his eyes and went to sleep. The squirrels left Mr. Brown and filled their sacks with nuts. They all sailed home in the evening. The next morning the squirrels returned to the island with a fat mole for Old Brown. They laid it in the owl's doorway and asked, "Mr. Brown, may we gather more nuts?" But Nutkin, who had no respect, began to tickle the sleepy Mr. Brown with a twig. Mr. Brown woke up suddenly and carried the mole into his house. He shut the door in Nutkin's face. Soon a little thread of blue smoke from a wood fire came up from the top of the tree. Nutkin peeked through the keyhole and sang, "A houseful, a holeful, and you cannot gather a bowlful." The squirrels gathered nuts from all over the island, but Nutkin gathered crab apples and sat on a stump watching the door of Old Brown. On the third day the squirrels went fishing very early. They caught 7 fat minnows for Old Brown and paddled over the lake to Owl Island. Twinkleberry and 6 other squirrels each carried a minnow, but Nutkin, who did not have nice manners, brought no present at all. He ran in front singing, "The man in the wilderness said to me, 'How many strawberries grow in the sea?' I answered him as I thought good, 'As many red herrings as grow in the wood.'" But Mr. Brown was not interested in riddles, not even when the answers was given to him. The squirrels filled their sacks with nuts, but Nutkin played a bowling game with crab apples and pine cones. On the 4th day the squirrels went to Owl Island for the last time. They brought an egg as a goodbye present for Old Brown, but Nutkin ran in front laughing and shouting, "Humpty Dumpty lies in the beck, with a white counterpane around his neck. 40 doctors and 40 wrights could not put Humpty Dumpty to rights." Now Mr. Brown liked eggs. He opened one eye and shut it again, but he still did not speak. Then Nutkin became very rude. "Old Mr. B, old Mr. B, hickamore, hackamore on the king's kitchen door. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't drive hickamore, hackamore off the king's kitchen door. Nutkin danced about like a sunbeam, but still Old Brown said nothing at all. Nutkin took a running jump right onto the head of Old Brown. All at once there was a fluttering and a scuffling and a loud squeak. The other squirrels scampered away into the bushes, and when they came back very cautiously, peeking around the tree, there was Old Brown sitting on his doorstep. He sat quite still, with his eyes closed, as if nothing had happened. But Nutkin was in his coat pocket. This looks like the end of the story, but it isn't. Old Brown carried Nutkin into his house and held him up by the tail, intending to eat him. But Nutkin struggled so very hard that his tail broke in two. He dashed up the stairs and escaped out of the attic window. And to this day, if you meet Squirrel Nutkin and ask him a riddle, he will throw sticks at you, stamp his feet, scold, and shout, "Crack, crack, 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 crack." Thank you all for listening. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day.